Hello everyone, welcome to lesson number 1 of Beginner's Cricut course. In this lesson, we'll start off by unboxing the magical Cricut, and then I'll introduce you to all the different mats, tools, and blades that you can use with your Cricut. And I want you to begin this lesson with our motto, take charge, show fear, you're the boss. Alright, let's get started! When it comes to using your Cricut, there are 3 things that we need to master. Number 1 is learning to use the machine, tools, mats, and blades, which we will be covering in this lesson. Next, we need to understand how design space works, which will be covered in the second lesson. And lastly, to truly master Cricut, we need to learn what SVGs are and why they're important. SVGs are pretty confusing for a lot of people, and this is one of the major reasons crafters get frustrated when working with Cricut. So we'll be learning all about SVG cut files in the third lesson, where I will also show you one of the most common SVG mistakes to avoid. So my goal is to help you truly understand all 3 aspects of Cricut crafting so you can create literally any project your heart desires. So do not miss the next 3 lessons, as they will help you in building a solid foundation for Cricut crafting. Once you have graduated from these 3 most important lessons, you'll be able to tackle literally any Cricut project with confidence. Alright, now let's get started with lesson number 1, where we will be unboxing the Cricut and learning everything about the mats, tools, and the blades. So this is the box in which the Cricut Maker comes in, and once you open up the box, you'll find one small box tucked in between the 2 pads. Underneath this all is the mighty machine. Pretty heavy in weight, so make sure you lift it carefully. Under the machine is the cord, and on the sides you'll find 2 mats, the light grip and the pink fabric grip mat. Okay, now let's have a look at what's inside this little box. First, there's this cool envelope with materials for your first project. Then we have the instruction manual and the super cool Rotary Blade. Inside the box, you'll also find the basic Cricut Pen and an extra converter cord. Inside the envelope, we have 2 different colors of cardstock along with a piece of fabric to make your very first card. Alright, now let's open up the machine. Oh my! Isn't this so darn cool? I just love it. I'm so darn excited to start working with it. And now I'm gonna tell you all about this machine. So let's get started. So at the back of the machine, you have the slots for the power cable as well as the USB cable. When you look from this direction, the slot on the right hand side is for the power, and the slot on the left hand side is for the USB cable. And this gap over here is where the mat comes out from. So this is a place to hold all your tools. This is where you can keep your phone or your iPad like this. And on the right hand side over here, we have all the awesome buttons that we're going to work with. So this place comes with additional storage. I don't really use it because sometimes when I'm working and I need to take out some stuff and I need to get some stuff, it's really hard to do it because the mat is on the top. So I don't really use this part, but it's a good storage area. And this is our dock for blade and other tools. So clamp A is where you're gonna add all your accessories like your stylus or your pen. Clamp B is where you're gonna add all the different blades. And as you can see over here right now, I have my premium fine point blade installed in this clamp. Now let's move on to these buttons over here. So the one on the top is the power button to switch the machine on and off. Then we have these arrows, which are to load and unload the mat. This cute little C with 2 antennas is the go button. So when you're ready, when you have loaded the mat inside, You just press this one and everything starts getting cut. And then we have the pause button for sometimes when you make a mistake or if your paper is getting ripped off, you can just pause it and unload your mat from here. So these black ones over here are the mat rollers. So these help to take your mat inside and push it outside. The white ones over here are the star wheels. So these help in keeping your project in place. But when you're working with a thicker material, like thick leather or chipboard or cardboard, any kind of thick material, you need to move the star wheels all the way to the right so that they don't leave a mark on your project. So all you gotta do is, this is a bit difficult because it requires a lot of force, but you gotta be gentle. So you gotta hold the star wheels with your thumb and your finger like this, and all you gotta do is push it to the other direction. Make sure you also hold your machine or else it will go flying off in the other direction. So once you're done with your project, you gotta do the same thing and pull your star wheels back to their original position. So yeah, that is all about this machine. If you're, however, using the Cricut Explorer instead of the Maker, here are all the things that you need to keep in mind. Most of the stuff of the Explorer are similar to the Maker, so I'm only going to show you the things that are different. So on the left-hand side of your Explorer, you have a place to attach the cartridges. Cartridges are nothing but a kind of a USB thing with a set of images. Cricut no longer sells any physical cartridges and has now switched to digital cartridges only. So if you're completely new to the Cricut world, don't worry about this part. Next, on the left hand side, we have the button to open up the hood. This is kind of different to the Maker because for Maker, all you need to do is lift the top hood and the machines open up by itself. On the right hand side, we have the materials dial, which makes it extremely easy to choose the materials we want to work with. This is great for beginners as you can easily work on your projects without having to jump multiple hoops. This also means you can connect your machine directly to your phone via Bluetooth and work on your project. You won't need a laptop or a computer for this. The right-hand side also comes with the load, go, and pause buttons just like the Cricut Maker. So that was all about the Cricut Explorer. If you would like more info on the Cricut Explorer, make sure you watch the additional videos that I have shared below. Cricut has 4 different types of mats and I have laid them all out for you over here. And as you can see, there are 4 different colors of these mats and each mat serves a different purpose. And by the way, excuse all the messy stuff on my mats. I use my mats pretty heavily and these are the mats that I first bought. I haven't purchased any mats since then. It's been like 1 year since I got my machine. So yeah, I use them pretty heavily, so they are almost always like this. All right, let's get started. So these mats come in 2 different sizes. So the one over here, all of these are 12 by 24 inch. And the one over here is the 12 by 12 inch. So these are the only 2 sizes which actually work with this machine. If you find any other size mat in craft stores and stuff, they're not gonna work with the machine. So these are the only 2 these are the only 2 mats that you need to buy if you want to use them with Cricut. And these work with both Cricut Explorer and Cricut Maker. All right, so the first one over here is the light grip mat. This is the blue one that I'm talking about over here. So this is pretty good for medium weight cardstock, something which is like 160 GSM. And you can also use it for vinyl. It's perfect for vinyl, vellum, and copy paper. So if you're working with any of these stuff, you can use this mat. That said, I've also used this mat for much heavyweight stuff because this was pretty new. Usually I would use the standard grip mat, but this mat lost all its stickiness, so I ended up using the light grip mat, which worked out pretty fine as well. But I won't recommend this because it's not recommended by the company, so if you want to do it, do it at your own risk. That was all about the light grip blue mat. Now let's have a look at the pink mat. So this is the pink fabric grip mat, and it's specifically for fabric. And I haven't used it for anything else because I'm very sensitive about my fabric, so I don't want to mess them up. So I haven't used these mats for anything other than fabric. So you can use all kinds of fabric on this: denim, velvet, tulle, chiffon, everything will stick on this mat. However, if you're working with leather, you're going to use the strong grip mat, the purple one. So that was all about the pink fabric grip mat. Let's move it aside. Next we have here is the green standard grip mat. This is perfect for all kind of cardstock, poster paper, any thicker material, which is not extremely thick, but it's thicker than paper. So I use this and a combination of light grip mat together to cut out multiple stuff at one time. Now let's have a look at the strong grip mat. This is one of my least favorite mat because quality of the mat is not as good as it should be. After doing only a few projects, it lost all its stickiness, and even after washing it using the dishwashing liquid, the stickiness is not strong enough. So this is like I have like a love-hate relationship with this mat, and sometimes when I'm really frustrated, I just toss this mat away and instead use the other mats which are stickier because I haven't used them much. And I've also used this mat to cut out cardstock as well. So yeah, I pretty much all the time use these mats interchangeably, except for the fabric grip mats. That's something I keep entirely for fabric, just like my fabric scissors and fabric rotary blade. All right, so that was all about the mats. Now let me show you a little trick on how to quickly clean your mats. So here we have a really dirty mat. I'm just gonna remove one more tip I wanted to share is always keep your mat plastic on so that dust and other stuff don't stick to your mat and cause it to lose its stickiness. Alright, so let's give this mat a little clean up. So remove the plastic, keep it aside, and this is the scraper tool. We're going to talk about this in a while. So all you got to do is use this. So this way you can get rid of all the major thick cardstock stuff that's stuck to your mat, and for the rest of the stuff you can use your tweezer or your weeder tool. One more thing to keep in mind when working with your mat is try not to touch the mat with your finger, because the stuff on our fingers can easily ruin the stickiness of the mat. So make sure you never put your fingers and sleeves and stuff like that on top of your mat to make the mat long lasting. Now, as promised, we're going to have a look at all the different essential Cricut tools. So, the first one we have over here is the spatula.
This is by far the most important tool you'll be needing for crafting with your Cricut. The spatula allows you to easily lift cuts from the mat without tearing them apart. If you do a lot of paper crafting, you're going to use this tool a lot, just like I do. The thin surface of the spatula is perfect to slide under the paper and lift it away from the mat. I also use the spatula to scrape off useless bits and pieces from my mat.
The next thing we have over here is the scoring stylus. This is probably my most favorite tool. You can use this to add score lines to 3D objects or cards. This can be used with both the Cricut Maker as well as the Cricut Explorer. So if you're using the Cricut Explorer, you're going to use this to add the score lines. However, if you're using the Cricut Maker, you can also use the scoring wheel, which is 10 times much better than the scoring stylus. The score lines that come out using the scoring wheels are much better than when you use the scoring stylus. But the thing is that the scoring wheel can only be used with the Maker. Next, we have the Cricut Scissors. I love these scissors because of this sharp edge they have. These are really helpful in getting into the small corners which are not cut out properly. Next, we have the weeder tool. So this is great for getting rid of all the negative cuts on vinyl or any other project.
I also use the weeder tool to lift the delicate paper cuts off the mat when I don't want to use the spatula. If you purchase the weeding toolkit, you'll find a hooked weeder tool. Some people swear by the hooked weeder tool. However, I haven't tried it myself yet, but if you're planning to do a lot of vinyl projects, you should definitely give it a try to see which one works best for you.
Next, we have the tweezer. I don't really use it much because I find it really awkward and I'm still not used to it. If I do need to use a tweezer, I just use the normal ones. Here we have the Cricut fabric marker to add marks on your fabric when you're working on a project which involves a fabric. Next, we have a very basic Cricut pen. This is what you get in your Cricut Maker box, like I showed you guys earlier. All the pens as well as the stylus comes with this little triangle which acts as a mark when you are inserting it into a clamp. Lastly, we have the scraper tool, and I showed you guys how to use it. Basically, it's used to scrape off all the gunk from your mat. It has a really thin edge, which is perfect for this job. Alright, so that was it all about the Cricut tool. Now we're going to have a look at all the different blades. So I'm kind of poor when it comes to blade because I only have 3 of those, and these are the ones that I mostly use, and probably you're also going to need only these many or maybe lesser if depending on what you're working. So these 2 blades are the ones that I got with my Cricut. This is the premium fine point blade, which now comes in gold. Mine is silver, as you can see. And this is the Rotary Blade, which also comes with your Cricut Maker, and is made especially for fabric and crepe paper. So the premium fine point blade is something that I work with for most of my projects. It's a very versatile blade. It's used for cutting cardstock, for cutting vinyl, and anything vellum. Literally most of the work is done by this premium fine point blade. So the top part of the blade is called the blade housing, and inside the housing you will find this tiny little blade. So if you press this nozzle down from here, from the top, and pull the blade out, holding it with your finger and your thumb, you'll be able to pull the blade out like this. So I'd like to share a little tip over here. Since this blade is used for cutting out most of the stuff, it's best to keep a different blade for different stuff. Like I would keep one particular blade, not the housing, just the blade for the paper, one blade for vinyl, and one blade for doing intricate cuts. Because when you use this blade with paper, the paper tends to make the blade dull, which is going to affect your project when you're working with a softer material like vinyl or anything else. So to get the best result and to keep your blades long lasting, it's best to keep a different blade for a different material. Next, we have the Rotary Blade. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a very special blade and it comes only with the Cricut Maker, and this was a game changer as it made cutting fabric way easier than it was when using the Explorer Air. So with the launch of the Rotary Blade, now you can cut literally any fabric you like, such as tulle, denim, chiffon, literally anything you can think of using this Rotary Blade. And as in normal life, you won't use your fabric scissors to cut out paper, you don't use your Rotary Blade to cut out anything except your fabric. The last one over here is the knife blade, which is designed especially to cut out really thick materials like cardboard, chipboard. So this is what it looks like from the back. This is something I rarely use because I rarely work on projects with thicker materials.
The next blade over here is the deep point blade, which might seem quite similar to the premium fine point blade. As a beginner, I used to get extremely confused between the two. However, they have a major difference between them. The deep point blade is made of a harder, more durable steel with a steeper angle of 60 degrees, which makes it extremely sturdy to work with. It is used to perform intricate cuts on thicker materials like a magnet, chipboard, stamp material, thick cardstock, stiffened felt, foam sheets, cardboard, and some fabrics. Remember, it's not for ordinary cuts. It's for intricate cuts on thick materials. It's black in color and can be used with both the Maker and the Explorer machines. Also, this blade cannot be interchanged with other blades housing. The next one over here is the bonded fabric blade. It is designed just to cut fabrics. The idea behind this blade is to have something solely for the fabrics, just like you wouldn't use your fabric scissors for cutting paper and other stuff. One thing to note is to use this blade, you need to first fuse your fabric to the interfacing. This blade comes in pink color to match the fabric grip mat and can be housed in both the bonded fabric blade and the premium fine point blade housing. This means you don't have to purchase the pink housing for this blade. You can just use the premium fine point blade housing. The bonded fabric blade can be used with both the Cricut Maker and the Explorer machines. However, if you're using the Cricut Maker, you can just use the Rotary Blade instead of the bonded fabric blade. The bonded fabric blade was released before the Cricut Maker was launched to cut out fabric using the Explorer Air. So I hope you guys don't get confused. So if you already have a Maker, you already have a Rotary Blade, you don't need a bonded fabric blade. Now let's talk about the scoring wheel. The Cricut scoring wheel is perfect for crafters who do loads of paper crafting and card making. It's designed to apply 10 times more pressure compared to the scoring stylus. The scoring wheel only works with the Cricut Maker.
Alright, my friends, with that we have reached the end of today's lesson. Now go ahead and get that Cricut set up so that you can start crafting in just 2 days. Alright, I'll see you in tomorrow's lesson where we're gonna learn everything about design space. So be sure to check your email. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.